The Big 12, and this is, do I think that they're honestly going to pillage the Pac-12? No. But do I think that Brett Yormark has absolutely, positively earned his paycheck and given a league that 16 months ago was about to die more security than it could ever dream of? Yes, Brett Yormark is MVP right now for the Big 12. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football back at it again. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Halloween, everybody. If you want to be updated on all things EA college football and watch plenty of college football content and some pro and some Madden content as well, anything related to football, subscribe to this channel right now. You will not be disappointed. Like I said, it's free to subscribe to this channel, okay? Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And remember, if you subscribe, it's free to you. All it's going to cost you is being an update on everything EA college football, pro football, Madden, anything like I said before. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, so here we are. We are on Halloween Day. Thank you so much for being here with me. Now, we got something very interesting over the weekend because something was spooktacular. Something was spooky. I don't know. There was big news in the Big 12. Let's get into that article right now. Here we are from Pete Thamel. And again, this was yesterday on Sunday. Big 12 nears 6-year, $2.28 billion TV extension with ESPN and Fox. Now, remember earlier, because the Pac-12 had their media rights negotiation window earlier, the Big 12 had it basically like a couple years later. They decided to move it up and get going this way. I'm really interested because right now, I'm telling you, there are very few bigger winners right now than Brett Yormark right now. He is absolutely on fire. Let's get into this article and break down how, though. The Big 12 is on the cusp of extending its current television contract with ESPN and Fox, according to ESPN sources. The league is in the final stages of putting together a 6-year, $2.28 billion extension that includes a sizable pay bump for schools. The new contract, which takes hold starting in 2025, including ESPN owning more than 60% of inventory and Fox adding a sizable portion of college basketball. That was a big addition here was the fact, remember here, Kansas, Baylor, the Big 12, also even adding in Houston, adding in BYU. That's one of the premier basketball leagues in the country. The deal projects for the Big 12 to make a sharp increase in media revenue per school, despite Oklahoma and Texas not being in the league after the 2024 season. A source said that the league is expected to agree to a grant of rights with its 12 members for the length of the deal. The overall value of the Big 12's media deal is expected to increase from $220 million annually to $380 million annually. That's an average increase in media-only revenue per school from $22 to $31.7 million. The $380 million is now divided 12 ways with the addition of BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. The new deal will mark an uptick in the Big 12's overall distribution number, which currently stands at $42.6 million per school. That number is subject to a myriad of variables such as NCAA tournament units, bowl revenue, and new college football playoff revenue. It is safe to project that the overall per school revenue increasing to nearly $50 million starting in 2024 or 2025, 2026. The number could very well be bigger depending upon the money from the college football playoff delivers. I think it positions the Big 12 as a continued player in college athletics. It makes a really viable entity and keeps it strongly positioned in college athletics among the Power 5 conferences. Former Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby told Texas lawmakers in August of 2021, remember in July of 2021, that was when Oklahoma and Texas first released the fact that they were going to be going to the SEC. He had said that the league could take a 50% media revenue hit in the wake of the departure of Oklahoma and Texas. This move to extend with the Big 12's current television partner is a byproduct of new Commissioner Brett Yormark's aggressive push since arriving in office and declaring the Big 12 open for business. A lot of Pac-12 fans, a lot of Big 12 fans, a lot of Group of 5 fans, they were all kind of like, well, what's going on here? He's going to be coming up for us. He's going for them. We didn't really know, but he's definitely a mover and a shaker. There's been a kind of a budding rivalry between Brett Yormark and George Kliavkoff, the commissioner of the Pac-12 right now. However, it looks like Brett Yormark is certainly a mover and a shaker, and he is not to be trifled with because your boy he makes things happen. So it's really crazy how it's kind of gotten to this point here. But you see the fact it talks about a couple other things here. The Big 12 chose not to go to market. It also mentions that along with the investment, its commitment to football, the Fox is adding Big 12 basketball to the package. The Big 12 has been the country's top men's basketball conference in the recent seasons, with Kansas and Baylor winning the past 2 national titles and Texas Tech losing the title game in overtime in 2019. Also, remember, it talks about the additions of Houston, Cincinnati, and BYU. I wouldn't be surprised if UCF could do something there. Remember, I mean, just being invited there, everything else gets better with them. Now, remember here, it also talks about a couple other big things here. Big 12 deal will expire in 2031, which is 1 year after the Big 10's record-setting deal expires. Notably, for the Big 12 moving forward, the contract comes up before the SEC 2034 and ACC in 2036 deals expire. This extension will mark the end of what's known as third-tier rights for the Big 12, in which the schools controlled certain game inventory. Instead, those third-tier rights will be distributed to ESPN, which means the schools no longer have to sell them. I think important here to remember about this is that mentioning of the SEC in 2034 and the ACC in 2036. What I think is going to happen here is the Big 12, when they go to market, and remember, they're going to go to market a couple years before that. So when it's going to expand in 2030, or it's going to end in 2031. So in 2029, maybe 2028, something like that around there, they're going to start to kind of have some conversations. Then they're going to start to potentially negotiate. Remember here, this is a moved up window here. So this deal will go into effect for 2025. It's 2022, just about 2023, well, a couple years before that. So what will happen here is about 2028, 2029, the Big 12 is going to start going to its current partners right now, and they're going to have a couple conversations. My best guess is they're going to have a conversation about a couple things. I personally don't think they have the option to get any SEC school. That's not my opinion here. I do think what they're going to do is they're going to look out there in the market, because the ACC, I'm telling you, unless they can have some crazy situation in which a whole bunch of teams vote against their better interest and move to dissolve the conference, which, again, it'd be hilarious if they did that, because NC State, Virginia Tech, there'd be a lot of schools out there that think they're going to get invited to the Big Ten and to the SEC that wouldn't. But remember here, I think what happened, though, is that those mid-tier ACC teams, we're talking Syracuse, we're talking Pitt, like I said, NC State, we're talking Virginia Tech, those schools would be, how do I say this, reviewed by Fox, ESPN, and the Big 12 to say, like, well, if we had to add teams, what would this team do? What would that team do? What would this team do? And so on. I think that those conversations, and the reason why the Big 12 wanted to get this done first, was because the Big 12 probably has already met with Fox and ESPN and kind of said, so we're not saying it's automatically going to happen, but JIC, what happens if Utah and Arizona are available, or Arizona and Arizona State are available, or Colorado and Utah are available? What would happen to our deal then? And I think what happens here is they've got that list of, like, if this, then that, if this, then that, across the entire league. I do think that this is going to be the same situation with the ACC close to when that deal expires too, because I think that we're going to see some more conference realignment coming up, especially, like I said, closer to the ACC deal coming up, because I think that they'll have the ability to, they won't have the ability to hold on to their top teams. North Carolina is gone. Clemson is probably gone. Miami apparently is potentially on the board too. Georgia Tech's a top flight university as well. Virginia is probably gone. But then from there, you don't really know. What happens to Syracuse, Boston College? What happens to North Carolina State? What happens to Wake Forest? What happens to Duke? There's a lot of questions there that we don't know the answer to. So what I think will happen, like I said, I think that the Big 12 right now has already had those conversations with Fox and ESPN. What happens if this school becomes available? What happens if that school becomes available? And they've been able to work out those numbers, so on and so forth from here. I think that the next deal in 2029, 28, 2030, somewhere around there, they're going to have that conversation about what happens if the ACC is not able to hold onto their teams. I think they'll probably have that conversation as well with the SEC. I think it will be a pure formality just to have the raw numbers about it. But I personally don't think anybody from the SEC or the Big Ten is going to leave for the Big 12. But remember here, that was the strategic move behind Brett Yormark being able to get this done earlier, as now they're able to have security. And I know that was the one thing with the Pac-12 and with the fact that they lost, USC and UCLA, was they certainly have more brands, pretty solid brands, I should say. The big markets, they've got a really good integration with each other. It's really easy to get from one to the other. It's really easy for all the Olympic sports too. But the Big 12 now has security, and it's something they didn't have as of 15, 16 months ago. This is an article here from July 21st of 2021. Like I said, this is like 16, 15 months ago, why I think the Big 12 is going to collapse and how Baylor should react. Goes into the fact that Oklahoma, Texas going to the SEC. We really didn't know what was going to happen here. So imagine this, a year and a half going from we're going to fall apart or we're going to join the American to we're doing good. And man, all you can say is Brett Yormark, bravo. He has earned his paycheck so far. There's also been a lot of comments about the third tier rights, and again, I want to go into a couple of articles here. First of all, Bob Thompson, former Fox Sports media member, he's a really knowledgeable guy about all this kind of stuff here. Says here that since July, I've been saying that the Pac-12 is about $300 billion per year. That's by 10 schools. Bit higher if they can monetize the Pac-12 networks. With only 10 schools to split the Pac-12's money between, I'm not sure if 31.6 is enough to make anybody move. I do think, like I said, the Big 12 has had conversations about adding the Pac-12 members. Do I honestly think that anybody's going to leave? No. Now, that calculation drastically changes if Kevin Warren's like, we were thinking about some Northwest teams, some Bay Area teams. We don't know when that's going to happen yet, and it looks like Ohio State has kind of put the kibosh on that for now. Remember, for now. Once a conference gets to 20 members, if the SEC gets to the conference, or SEC gets to 20 members, the Big Ten will. If the Big Ten gets to 20 members, the SEC will. We know that this is a keep it up with the Joneses situation here. But, they see there's conversations here. Does your $300 million include Tier 3? I want to go into another article here that kind of breaks down what they're talking about there. Here we are with heartlandsports.com, and it says 5 thoughts on the Big 12's new media rights deal. There's a couple things here they talked about. What about for the Pac-12? Personally, I think that we're wasting our breath on the Pac-12 conversation until Kevin Warren comes again. I do think that Kevin Warren is the Grim Reaper for the Pac-12, or at least for, how do I say this? The Pac-12 having its turn 10 members. I don't think the Pac-12 will die. I actually had a video about that before, how even if they got all the way down to just Oregon State and Washington State, they could still retain the league. But again, we're just talking about the Big 12 for right now. Talks about expansion. I guarantee you they've got those expansion numbers for all the four corner schools. They probably got them for Memphis, Boise State, SMU, and USF. Those are the 4 that were discussed before last year, kind of like the last 4 out, whereas Houston, UCF, Cincinnati, and BYU were the first 4 in, or the last 4 in, excuse me. It also talks about the third tier rights here. And again, I'm encouraging everybody here, get in the comments and let me know right now, because I haven't really gotten a clear answer as to whether or not it includes the third tier rights or it doesn't, this new deal they're talking about. But again, we want to make sure we go over this. Third tier rights are basically Olympic sports with a few less than the desired basketball games thrown in, usually non-conference. Those rights can be negotiated separately, so it's not surprising they're not included here. And again, I don't know what's going to happen here. It says that they're currently owned by ESPN and Big 12 Network, Big 12 ESPN Plus. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. I do know that the third tier rights is for the Longhorn Network, and OU has Sooner Vision. That was a big point of contention that a lot of people got mad about. First of all, Texas just destroys every conference that it's in. I'm interested to see. I don't think they'll be able to destroy the SEC because I think that that UT and Georgia and a couple other schools there can mother F Texas if they ever get, they'll flap at their gums too much, if you know what I'm trying to say. But third tier rights, get in the comments if you find out, did this deal include the third tier rights? Did it not? I wasn't able to confirm that before releasing this video. Lots of interesting things and lots of moving parts right now. I'm telling you, there's the Big 12, and this is, do I think that they're honestly going to pillage the Pac-12? No. But do I think that Brett Yormark has absolutely, positively earned his paycheck and given a league that 16 months ago was about to die more security than it could ever dream of? Yes, Brett Yormark is MVP right now for the Big 12. All right, guys, that's it for me. I will see you guys later. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys later. I am out.